Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. Today is Friday, which means I'm doing a bunch of new releases. I'm sorry these are coming out so late. I had to be at the movie theater all day today because I had to watch all 3 of my new releases in the theater. So I also apologize for my haggard appearance. I am exhausted. I've been at the movie theater all day. So without further ado, let's get started with our first new release, which is Respect. Respect was released in 2021. It was written by Tracy Scott Wilson and directed by Liesl Tommy. And essentially, it's a biopic. And first of all, no spoilers, but the general idea is that it follows Aretha Franklin as she grows up. And I should say, before we get too deep into the video, I don't know, well, before the movie, I know nothing about Aretha Franklin. I've listened to a lot of her music. Her music is obviously fantastic and has had a huge impact on the world, but there's a lot of stuff I did not know about Aretha Franklin. Like, I did not know that she was a major part of the civil rights movement. I did not know that she was pregnant at such a young age. These are all things that I did not know at all. So the movie did what it was supposed to do, which is educate people on a life, right? Which we have had a lot of films that are very similar, and we call those biopics, where they're not quite documentaries, because we're not seeing actual real-life events, but we're seeing a recreation of the events. And the issue with that is that some of them can be fictional. Like, for this one, I don't know what is fake and what is real, because I don't know anything about the real Aretha Franklin. All I know about is the Jennifer Hudson version of Aretha Franklin. But I will judge it as a movie more so than an actual adaptation of somebody's life, mainly because I know nothing about the life. The first thing I want to say is like, it's kind of just like a fine movie, but that's kind of how I feel about biopics in general. Like, I think it's hard to make me not like a biopic. I just find biopics really fun and entertaining and also kind of educational, which makes me feel like I'm not wasting my time completely if the movie is bad. But this movie, like, I'm happy to say, wasn't bad. Is it good? Yeah, it's just kind of fine. But that's how I feel about most biopics. Like, on the channel already, I've reviewed 2 very recent biopics, namely Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocketman, both of which have very similar feel and very similar tone and very similar cinematography. They're all about music, and I kind of like them. They're fine. Do we need more? I don't know as if we do. But the thing is that, as similar as they are, which is the story is always different because it's about different people every single time, which I appreciate. I appreciate that they are doing something new every time, with at least the idea that the story is slightly different. However, it is kind of getting dull that we start off with them being a child, and, you know, then there's this horrible thing that happens to them, but they're very talented, so then they become a musician, and then they get into alcohol, and then bad things happen. And, like, it's just this kind of back and forth in every single biopic. Every single biopic about a musician is almost identical, because musicians' lives are all very similar. But there were some things that shocked me in this movie that, like, I didn't know. Like, I was just sitting in the movie, like, watching the movie. I was like, oh, this is, like, you know, pretty not bad. And then all of a sudden they're like, and please welcome Martin Luther King Jr. And I was like, no way. Like, I don't know why. Like, the nerd in me was, like, so excited about seeing Martin Luther King Jr. on screen. And I was a little disappointed because it didn't really look like Martin Luther King Jr. at all. Which is something you have to be careful with in a biopic, right? Is somebody so famous, right? We have Aretha Franklin, which, like, I've listened to her music, but I don't really know what she looks like. But with Martin Luther King, we know who that looks like. We know, if we see him in a crowd, we're like, that's Martin Luther King Jr. And, oh yeah, the guy had a sort of resemblance. Like, yeah, I guess he could probably pass as an MLK Jr. But it was pretty far off. I mean, like, it was definitely not him. And they could have done better makeup, or even maybe a little bit of CGI. So just kind of tweak some parts of it, like, just didn't look like it. And it might have been Mercy more, because as soon as I was like, oh, that's Martin Luther King Jr., I was like, oh, that's not him. And of course it's not him, because he's not alive, unfortunately. But, like, I don't, it's frustrating to think about my own thoughts about this, because I know we can't have an actual, like, representation of him. But at the same time, like, it could have been better. There are a lot of surprises like that throughout the whole film, where I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's a cool idea that, like, you know, we're seeing this part of her where she's going through all these husbands and all these kids, and how her husbands are always kind of treating her like crap, which leads us to the Respect song, which then has a whole new meaning by the end of the film. Great. All good stuff. But also, by, like, the middle of the movie, I kind of had it. Like by about the hour and a half mark, I was like, yeah, I know. Like, at that point, all right, in the middle of the movie, it's not really a spoiler, but like, I am talking about the middle of the movie, so feel how you feel about where we're going here. But in the middle of the movie, we get to this part where she sings the Respect song. They're like, R-E-S-P-C-T, that one. She sings it, and I'm like, okay, cool, roll credits, right? No, not even close. We got a whole lot more to go. And as of that point, I was like, I don't know if we need more anymore. I'm not sure if we need more. And we got more, and that's fine, but it definitely was less focused from that moment, right? Whereas in the beginning, it was like, okay, we're going to see her get disrespected and then sing her song about respect. And that's great. I love that. But then we get to the point where I'm like, okay, she's done her respect bit. Now we already know what's going to happen for the rest of the movie because it's similar to every other biopic about a musician where like, oh, well, she's going to get into alcohol. And then she's going to be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And then she's going to get off of alcohol. And then she's going to be a hero. And that's just like, I get it, but why do we have to do it for an hour? Like, it just felt so exhausting. And the worst part is I'm judging someone right now. Like, I'm judging the movie. Yes, I am. But I'm also judging the person because it's a biopic. The goal is to see the entire lifespan. And, like, you can't do that in 2.5 hours. So I think it would be smart. And maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong. But, like, maybe instead of doing an entire biopic about a person, we do a biopic about a part of a person. Like, if we had talked about the first half of Aretha Franklin's life, of the movie, right? Of the movie life, where we get from she's a kid and she's raped, and then we move on, and then she finally gets with this husband who treats her like crap. She gets a record deal, and then she finally gets her big hit, which is the Respect song, and then she tells her husband to go shove it, and like, then it culminates in this actual meaningful way, whereas the end of this film just kind of like, it peaked at R-E-S-P-C-T, and then I was like, and then like a little mini like, oh, that's kind of cool as an ending. And yeah, while that stuff is important, of course, because it has to do with the person, there has to be a dedicated stopping point, and I think that this film, they went a little bit too far with the stopping point. They should have stopped it a little bit earlier. Not too much like earlier, but like just a little bit, so it wasn't as long and dragged out. There were a lot of good parts of the film, including the music, which was great. Like, I absolutely loved it. I do not know if it was Aretha singing or if it was Jennifer Hudson. I have no clue. I tried to look it up. I didn't get very many answers. I also was in my car, so it was like, I had like 20 minutes between movies, and I was like, all right, I need to know. I couldn't figure it out. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you know. I think it's probably Jennifer Hudson for some of it, but I do think that some of it was definitely a recording of Aretha. I don't know for sure. Regardless, it was very good. Anytime that there was like singing on the screen, I was into it. I was like, yes, I want more of this. This is great. Unfortunately, for a musician biopic, there wasn't a whole lot of it. At least there wasn't as much as I was hoping there would be. In terms of the performances, they were great. I mean, I already talked about Jennifer Hudson, but she was absolutely stunning. I think she was great as Aretha Franklin. I think she was great. I really, really enjoyed her. Like, I think she was absolutely great. While the movie I don't think is perfect, I think that there's a chance for an Oscar nomination here. Like, she was absolutely great. She really did a wonderful job here. But I also really like Forest Whitaker and Marlon Wayans. Marlon Wayans is weird for me because I associate him more with like comedy stuff. He was absolutely fantastic as this awful husband. Like, I really, really well done. Really well done. And of course, Forest Whitaker's like always good in my opinion. I'm always a sucker for Forest Whitaker. But he plays a really cool character where he's the father, but he's also like a super jerk to her, but he's also a religious man, so like, take with that what you will. But I thought that the acting was absolutely spectacular. Definitely raised the film up a little bit from its kind of already mediocre pedestal. But with all of this being said, chop it down to like, it's just kind of fine. I think it's a little bit better than fine, so I'm gonna go ahead and give Respect a B-. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the film. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Have you seen it? Did you not see it? Well, why not you go see it? Let me know in the comments below. I love talking to you guys, and make sure you guys are subscribing because it's a huge help. I will get the 150 subscriber special up as soon as I can. I'm waiting for my friend to not be busy so that he can film me doing it because I can't film myself doing it because I don't have pockets in my Spider-Man onesie. So, when I film it, as soon as I'm filming it, I'm going to edit and upload it. So, I promise it is coming. It's not that I'm, like, not doing it. I have everything. I even bought gloves the other day. So, like, I'm ready to do it. I'm just waiting for the right time. So, make sure you guys are subscribing because it really does help me out. Make sure you guys are liking the video, sharing with friends, and as always, keep watching movies and television. Stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.